I think I can try to explain autism in a simple way. Imagine you can't communicate. Imagine you want something. Imagine you can't talk. And there are ants biting you. How would you feel? Do you imagine that kind of a moment?
It can affect speech, affect some social behaviors. And so people might find or think that somebody is very odd, but only because they are responding in a different way.
It is a disorder that develops from childhood, from early on during development, and therefore it's called a neurodevelopmental disorder, which presents with delays or abnormal functions, which is strongly related to biological maturation of the brain or the central nervous system, particularly the brain.
In the world of an autistic person, everything in it is intense. Imagine all your senses were heightened and out of your control. Smells confusing to tell apart, sounds exceptionally loud, touch offensive, and in what seems like a chaotic spin, you are barely understood. Autism is a silent horror, but the children with this condition, in the words of Adele Devine, are very colorful, often very beautiful, and like the rainbow, stand out. Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder that affects communication and behavior. It is known as a spectrum disorder because there is wide variation in the type and severity of symptoms people experience. Although autism can be diagnosed at any age, its symptoms often appear in the first 2 years of life, and it can be a lifelong disorder. In Uganda, clear statistics about the ASD prevalence are hard to come by. Many of the people with this condition live in relative isolation and are invisible to society, often kept indoors and out of sight. A recent report aimed at understanding awareness of this condition in Uganda by Brass for Africa, a charity that delivers music education with integrated life skills to over 1,000 disadvantaged children and young people, showed remarkably low levels of awareness. 61.6% of the sampled demographic had never heard of the word autism, while 38.4% said they had heard about autism, and of these, 3.7% revealed they did not know what autism meant. The Advocacy Through Music project is focused on creating awareness about autism in Uganda. It's funded by Oxfam Voice under the Voice, Innovate and Learn grant. To execute this, Brass for Africa partnered with Dorna Centre for Autism, one of the few homes catering to children on the severe end of the spectrum in Uganda. Established 7 years ago, Dorna Centre for Autism, located in Ntinda, east of the capital Kampala, is home to over 30 persons with autism. Here, the participants are taken through daily activities to enable them become more independent.
At Dorna Centre, we have what we call a routine. The routine is very important.
You can only train them by using routine. For example, if you show a child that in the morning when you wake up, this is what you're supposed to do, we have to train them or condition them. That's how they can start doing things responsibly or better than they have been doing them.
Added to the itinerary or weekly routines are music sessions by Brass for Africa. Brass for Africa came up with a new special needs life skills curriculum that integrates life skills into music, basing on the key attributes: communication, concentration, teamwork, problem solving, resilience, self-confidence and leadership. The development of the curriculum started with gathering information from people who lived and worked with autistic children.
set out to find as much information as we could. We engaged some partners of ours called Umoja Global, who have done a lot in music, who have used music to do lots of therapy for different situations, you know. And so Kara with Umoja Global gave our teachers a workshop and detailed training in understanding autism, in understanding how autistic people respond, in understanding how, though they are non-verbal, how they send messages, and in understanding which actions or which things stimulate their brains, how they respond if they are not happy, what most common types of responses if they are tired, or how they'll tell you, I don't like what you're doing. And so our teachers, it was more like a fresh beginning, and so our teachers were the first to be taught before they could start interfacing or teaching learners with autism.
We came the first day and did music therapy. We called it a therapy because we played for them to see their reaction to these instruments. And you know, you could see people jumping, you could see someone coming close to you, touching the instrument, trying to feel how is it, but then you couldn't know what he or she is thinking.
Mine, the one I was responsible for, acted neutral, like, you know, not excited, not sad, but you can't tell. Another reacted by like very much excitement, which goes beyond.
First day teaching at Dorna Centre, some of the students, you can see them when some of them they are sitting only alone. They can't sit like two. So I asked some of their teachers that why is it that Elijah is sitting alone? Then their teacher said that they cannot share, they cannot coordinate, but it's we to change them and to teach them.
Kati nze okusookera ddala okujja wano natya lwansonga gwe gwali omulundi gwange ogwasooka ne tubeera nabo naye nga nze saagala batugamba wajja n'okuwunyako todduka naye nga nze ndi mubiri eri ntya ngamba sibeerangako nabo sibamiitingangako era ogwaddayo ne ngamba ha wano sigenda sobolawo naye njagala ngende ngambe bakama bange nga ntandise okwekalakasa nze bankyuse program nja kusomesa ewala ne bagamba eno outreach eriwo jjukira ate abalala baggalawo gali masomero ne tutandika okusomesa.
By the center quick man! Again! Aha! Pa 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 pa. Parade! Stop! One, ta 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 da da. 1, 2, 3, play! Pa pa.
In a week, you know, you cannot believe that we were able to get them, sit them down and start them, because we started with one-on-one. We used to do one-on-one lessons, so I could sit with a participant with his or her teacher from here at Dorna Centre. So her teacher could help me know what I don't know about the participant, personal level also. So things started getting on and on and on and no, until we got them to play as a group.
Training has come with numerous hurdles along the way, but these had to be dealt with meticulously.
Getting them to play like the way they are playing right now, it was a hustle, it was challenges were there, you know, coming today when they love it, tomorrow they don't want to play, you know, coming today they're in the moods, tomorrow they are like tired. So until right now that you see that they can play as a group, they can play what you tell them to play. Once they learn it, they can play it.
Humphrey, we didn't expect that from him, and he was just there, and you tell him to do something, but he just look at you and like you say, oh my God, what can I do?
Wiki yasooka nabonaabona lwa nsonga simanyi nti oba we mugamba anaawulira saagala muggyeko amanyi ffe bwe tuba tuyigiriza abaana eŋŋoma kati nanze w'eŋŋoma sikulaga amapeesa fingaling mbukolawo oti nzijja kuggwa kwennyini emabegawo nenkwebakako nti nenkukwata ku mikono eri fiiru ogiwulire engeri gye ntambuzaamu emikono naawe osobole otambulawo otyo kati nga ndabira ddala kigenda kumbeerera kizibu okujja omukolawo enti ne nali ndi awo ne ŋŋamba bano abaana nina okulemerako.
When we saw that 3 could play the rhythm without anyone helping them, so we developed stages that soon we're going to make like a proper curriculum, a musical curriculum. So we reached a level when we wanted them to be, like play as individuals, to play these drums. So we started building them. We get chairs, we set them up, put a drum so he can play on his level. So we started, so they could now put on the drum at the side, but still on supported by a chair. So we started taking away one chair per week, not until he felt that I should carry this, not just sitting there and play. So we wanted them to feel that some things you have to do them yourself. So they carry the drums now, and now they can play the rhythms while standing. And right now we're training them how to march, because brass bands do march. So we want to train them how to march. And we know, I don't know when that will be, but we know that with time they will learn how to march, and then, play with others and march around their communities, and people will be looking at them and they'll say, those are the children from Dorna Centre. So their minds from our community people will have to change.
Community participants who are non-autistic have been enrolled into the program demystifying the many myths surrounding autism.
My first time I thought they were going to hurt me because they play around with stuff, they throw them everywhere they want, but they've never hurt me. Autistic people, you just need to give them time and to keep reminding them what they need to do, and they'll do it perfectly.
When I see them seated in a group, the community children and then the donor children, I'm like, what a class. This wasn't expected. When parents have been demoralized, they've been rejected, take your child away from this school, we can't hold him, your child is too much, your child is everywhere, please find a special school for your child. Then we have Dorna Centre and the community children, and then children seated in a curve. There is an autistic and a non-autistic. And then I see them all as children. Now I'm now taking away the word like I'm autistic. I'm just saying all are children in a class. This is now like a mainstream music class.
With perfection looming on the horizon after numerous sessions, the teachers are elated with some key achievements with regards to communication, improved concentration, social behaviors, and leadership.
I would speak about specifically 3 children whom I've seen like they have that great progress. Like the one I was looking at, and like for him, when I was starting, like he couldn't play anything. Like, even he didn't have like that energy to just beat the drum. But then after a week, then like he could play it while it is down, that interest. We didn't expect that from him.
Elijah, when I met him, he refused. For him, even though you go and hold him that you come and you go to class, he refused. But later, he saw his friends participating. We used to bring him inside, and for him, he was there sitting, watching the friends. Then we used to give him that you come, and we started to give him a side drum. Then he started playing a side drum. Then he got used. He started getting engaged in the group, and even right now, he's the one who is playing. Wow.
Many of them, I think I'm seeing them really lively. I had one boy, I think, who has, he had withdrawn himself for like, I think 3 years. Being just a loner, so angry, I can't even describe what is it with this boy, Elijah. I call him my head boy. He was just a very jolly boy. But something I think, to me, it's like when he became a teenager, when he became an adolescent boy now, he became a different child. Not himself, but when music came in, I'm seeing a person whose life is, I think, brought back. You'll even see Elijah's smile. I'm like, okay, so this is how music is a treatment. Elijah is back to life. You know, when he's playing the drum, you feel the beat, you see the smile, you see that life back on his face.
Here is Jacob. Before the project, he was a loner, but he currently mixes well with others, and above all, he has picked up a new love for drumming. Jacob's progress has not gone unnoticed by his mother.
Jacob before ye muntu yali ayagala abeere yekka, TV agiwatchinge yekka, remote yembeera mu ngalo kugamba ye bw'ojja n'okyusaako nalo lutalo oluusi ng'ayinza okulaba muli awo banne bazannya n'abavaamu n'agenda n'abeera yekka n'alinnya obuliri bwe ne yeebikka naye kati olaba nti tandise avaayo ate gy'agenze ng'akula olaba nti buli kimu kigenda nakyo kiringa ekikola ekitereera obulungi.
The last born in the family of 5, Jacob born healthy, but at the age of 2, cannot talk. In concern, his mother seeks for help.
Twagendako mu ddwaliro balabo balina tongue tie nga takalina ne tulaba badokita b'abaana ne bamucekinga nga ali very okay ne bamucekinga ebifaananyi brain what have you byonna nga ali okay. Speech therapy era naye tugigendako kakati bwe ngenda ku Angel director wa Angel agamba nti omwana ono alina autism. Nze nali sikiwuliranga nako ekyo kigambo naye from childhood media muteekanga mu ntebe n'awochinga TV tugamba oba TV oba ki ne tutategeera kakati ne mutandikisa essomero bw'atandika essomero bwamuwanga ekitabo nga ne peni nga olaba akyuka nnyo nga abizingako buzinzi nga akasukeeri naye bwe namutwala ku ssomero na teacher namunnyonnyola director ne ngamba omwana ono aluddewo okwogera tayogera tetumanyi lwaki n'abatica n'ababuulira ega ne bagezaako bamuyigirize nejjako nga tayagala kuwandiika tayagala kulaba peni tayagala kulaba kitabu.
Her story is that of ridicule in public places, name-calling within the neighborhood and discrimination, something familiar with parents of children on the spectrum.
Kusomero gye namutwala era awo nkugambye ticha ate yenna akikola bubi n'amutuuma n'erinnya n'amutuuma Kataala. Kati wanudde mbandya tutambula ndi ne Jacob wala namuyita Kataala ne mugamba lwaki omuyita Kataala nagamba ticha amuyita Kataala.
Drusilla was born a premature. All the steps of growing were very normal and were good because she was crawling very well. She started walking very well. Everything was normal until when she made 2.5, she was going to 3 years. That's when I noticed something was wrong with her. She had many changes, things which she was doing which were not normal. She was like, when you give her food, she examines food, everything you give her to eat, she examines by smelling. She first smells and she eats. When you put on volume on TV, she covers her ears. When you talk or maybe you laugh, she covers her ears. On walking, she wouldn't put her feet down, she would tiptoe, even running. So it was like, what's wrong with this girl? The neighbors started saying, "Omwana ina malala."
The delayed diagnosis of autism in children that most parents in Uganda face had a toll on her as she desperately journeyed from hospital to churches and even traditional healers seeking for answers.
I changed religions. I became a Muslim. I slept on mountains, Bukalango, Chiwamirembe. I went even to witchcraft.
Nkulengera. Funa obunyenye nkule bubiri. Soko obukalange. Bukone kone. Butabule mu mmere.
The worst was when I gave her insects which make noise at night, those crickets. They told me to give her 2, I gave her 5, then she will talk. So I burnt them, I put them in the biscuits she ate. In the morning I woke up at 5, I waited for her to talk, she didn't talk.
She is now proud of what Drusilla can do.
Stop. Drusilla, now we have finished, but don't forget to do practice, okay? Yeah?
Give me 5, Drusilla.
Drusilla, don't forget to do practice.
I saw her beat and jump and was like, what's this? I was so happy because I had never seen her dance. Because an autistic kid, always she's like calmed down and it was like, she started jumping, dancing and she's singing. She shows that she loves the thing. I was like, okay, now this is a step ahead.
When the music plays, happiness on many faces is limitless, joy infinite.
A child may be non-verbal, but happy. Why? Because they're engaged in music.
Okay, music has improved on their concentration levels. They are able to concentrate better. For example, a child could not sit in one place like Jacob, the other participant that was in with Lucky. He wouldn't be able to sit for a given period of time doing what he's doing, but now due to the music program they're able to sit and complete an activity. They are also able to socialize better. It has also helped them respond better to things like instructions or communication. For example, Ellie today, who was in the garden, formerly he would just look at you and walk away, but today I was able to tell him come and do this and he's able to do it. But ever since the introduction of music, the children no longer throw tantrums as consistently as they did. They still do, but it's not as often as it used to happen.
This is one way of creating awareness about autism in Uganda, although the parties involved want more action from government. Honorable Helen Grace Asomo is a legislator in the Ugandan Parliament and recently accompanied a team of activists who petitioned the Speaker of Parliament seeking for an all-inclusive education system.
In Uganda, we have a policy for people a law for people with disabilities, and it brings out conditions of persons with disabilities in areas of education and also in areas of care. But the challenge we do not have the institutions that help people with disabilities, especially children with autism, to take care of them. Most of them have been taken care by the non-governmental organizations. But I want to say that we are looking at the inclusive education policy. Yes, it has taken 15 years, but I think as the lawmakers, we are going to take it to ourselves to ensure that this policy comes out, because it's having an all-inclusive area on education that children, regardless of their disability, should be able to benefit. And in its approach, it is going to discuss about inclusive education and also special schools. So there are some children who can be put in special schools, there are some children who can put in an inclusive environment.
Through a terrible and trying stretch, children with autism have been the most at risk, but they have made to this date and now the most thankful. Brass for Africa and Dorna Centre for Autism dream of forming a band, one composed of autistic children, one that will showcase their abilities and serenade the hearts of many, because music, as they say, is the healing force of the universe.
So the next thing is going to be like a band. But by who? By children living with autism.
That is coming. That is coming. And we have seen elsewhere in the world, persons with autism being actually owning bands and performing and doing a lot in the arts. And that one is the beginning. That is the start of what we are trying to achieve. The band performing will be the beginning of creating awareness and changing the mindsets of people in this country and in the region.